Okay, voters, this is Michael Crosby here. We're going to talk about what Chad's going to say here. Now, here's the thing. Okay, I have a lot of evidence. Bonta's not credible. Julie Sue's not credible. Shirley Weber's not credible. And I'm not going to lie for these people. Okay, I'm not going to withhold the truth. I've already put stuff out. So when the truth is that these parties up there in Sacramento are not credible and that I have a whole lot of evidence against these parties, some of which is very serious. We're talking major article violations that these people participated in, major United States article violations, attack on archives, attack on a candidate's camp, attack on national security. No joke here, attacking archives, national security, okay? But I want you to hear what Chad's saying, because I'm not going to lie for these people. I mean, yes, I'm running for office. I want an emergency election every 90 days. We have to delay the election for 1 year because I know beyond the shadow of a doubt we do not have a fair election. There are parties who have been doing all these election rigging techniques, and I've been working to get a hold of some of the evidence to show you voters to understand about algorithmic isolation and how many of you have been trapped into false narratives by these people. And there's lots of evidence of this. Lots. So let's listen to what Chad has to say right now.
It's not law enforcement. It's not the building community. It's not the oil community. It's the 130 people in Sacramento, and really only 90 in Sacramento, that are harming us. So you're talking about the California Coastal Commission, the CEQA, CARB, all of those boards and commissions, the Wildlife Agency, all of these boards and commissions that are truly run by environmental activists are destroying our state. They're making it so people are leaving. They're making it so we can't afford things. That is what's driving the cost. It's not businesses. It's not the oil companies. It is purposely done by regulation from California state legislatures and our governor. And people are over it. They're tired of it, and we need a break. We're in a very, very long time that was not wrapped up in a political, ideological agenda that was harming half of the state.
All right, Sheriff, you've been very vocal about seizing these ballots, saying there was fraud involved, and today the governor's office has done something about it, passing some legislation there in direct response to what you have done. So tell us about your reaction to Newsom's signed Senate Bill 73, which limits the changes on how law enforcement can access voting ballots.
Yeah. How corrupt are we going to allow state government to be? How corrupt are we going to allow a governor and a legislature to be? They are now passing laws to stop people from finding fraud, to stop people from investigating election fraud. This is the most crazy thing I've ever seen, and I hope every single person in California is paying attention, because if you can't see that it's time to get these people out of office that are there for themselves, that are there to manipulate the system, that are there to cheat us, that are there to defraud us, we are going to be lost in California. Because this is so obvious now. It's almost to the point where it's comical. It's like we're being punked. Ashton Kutcher is not going to run out and tell us that we're all being punked. We're being punked by our own state government, the people that are putting us there. This is absolutely crazy. This election case that we were doing is nothing more than any other type of a fraud case. It is completely obvious that the Registrar of Voters in Riverside County has a number of ballots that were turned in, and 611,000. How in the world does 658,000 votes get spit out of those machines when you throw 611,000 in? And a judge agreed. So all we were going to do.
You called this the seizure of these ballots a fact-finding mission. What has your investigation found? Because the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, has found that there was no impropriety here.
Rob Bonta is an absolute liar, and I'm sorry, I love both of you, but don't repeat that and act like that's true. That is not even close to true. Rob Bonta filed a lawsuit solely to exercise authority over a sheriff that he doesn't have. His lawsuit has nothing to do with these ballots. He told me to stop a lawful investigation, and I said, no, you don't have the authority to do that. And he took it to court, and now we have to argue that case. This isn't about a lawful case. And what Newsom just signed into law proves that what I did is exactly lawful and should have been done. And now they are trying to prevent it from happening in the future. Why would they have passed that law if what I did wasn't legal? They're trying to make it unlawful for any law enforcement officer to do that. We are being manipulated and we are being lied to. Rob Bonta is an absolute embarrassment to law enforcement, and we better start seeing this in our state, or we are in big, big trouble, especially 5 days away from an election.
Sheriff, I'll tell you, as voters, when you hear that there's an investigation, and you worry about the confidence when it comes to elections, right? So do you have any concerns that this could deepen mistrust?
Yeah, I absolutely do. What everyone should be concerned of is there's an investigation to make sure we don't have election fraud, and you have an attorney general that's stopping that investigation. Why would he not want those ballots counted? Why would not any rational person want those ballots counted to make sure that there is no election fraud? Because that's a major discrepancy. 46,000 votes discrepancy is massive. Why would we not want to find out why? But apparently, you have a Secretary of State, a governor, and an Attorney General who don't want those counted. So that is what is showing the mistrust in the election system. That is showing all of the disgruntled, the disenfranchised Californians that the system's manipulated, the politicians are lying to us, cheating, and stealing our state. That's what it's proving. And we have to get back to the realization that we have to make sure that our elections are secure. We must have secure elections if we're going to maintain the integrity of our country and our state.
Okay, then at what point would you consider the investigation closed?
We're going to count those ballots, and we're going to find out how many there are. If there are 656,000, then the investigation's closed. But if there's 611,000, and there's 658,000 yes and no votes, we have a massive, massive problem that we have to get to the bottom of and find out why. Is it the machines? Is it people? Is it ballots being run through twice? Was it the machines counting different than what it should have counted with paper? We won't know until this investigation is done, and you have politicians, disingenuous, dishonest, fraudulent politicians trying to stop it from happening.
You talk about mistrust and also representing the totality of California if you were elected governor, but you have called on ending California as a sanctuary state. What do you say to the immigrants out there and the communities who are now fearful of that fact?
They're fearful because they're being lied to by politicians. The sanctuary state status does absolutely nothing. Nothing to protect anyone in this state, not you, not me, or anyone in this country illegally. Nothing. The only people that law was meant to protect are people who victimize us, end up in jail, and then it forces sheriffs and prison wardens to release those criminals back out into our communities to victimize us again. We have been lied to repeatedly, and unfortunately, the media plays a part in this because you keep repeating it. We told law enforcement leaders in this state, told the governor and the legislature in 2017 what the consequences were going to be of passing a crazy law like this. And now we see it. We see what happened. And we have to get rid of this so we can keep our communities safe. People who are victimizing us that are in the country illegally should be deported from our jails, not from our businesses, not from our homes, not from our communities. And that's how it happened up until 2017. This was purposely caused by Democrat politicians in California, Governor Brown, and a legislature that knew the consequences, and they did it anyway. And they did it so they could divide us like they are today and make people be afraid of law enforcement.
Many of the recent polls have you trailing fellow Republican Steve Hilton along with a few Democrats. What is your strategy to win GOP and non-GOP support to win the 2 slots in next week's primary? And what do you think is separating you from Steve Hilton specifically?
Wow. Honesty, integrity, character, and leadership separate me from Steve Hilton. And on the other side, with the Democrats, it's a completely different agenda. If you vote for any one of the top contenders on the Democrat side, all this does is going to maintain the status quo in California. It's either going to stay the same or get worse. Nothing's going to get better. There is a huge difference when you vote for character, honesty, integrity. And we've been doing this for 16 months now, not on a message of Republicans. This is about a message for Californians. I want Democrats voting for me. I want independents voting for me because the decisions I make how we are going to run state government is only for Californians. It's not for special interests. It's not for ideological agendas. It's not for politics. It's for Californians who are starving for leadership here, that are looking for a better California, a cheaper California, a more affordable California, and a place where their kids want to stay and can stay and raise their families instead of looking for other states that are cheaper or have better to offer than what California does. The California dream is still attainable. We just have to get California government back to a position that allows it to happen.
Sheriff Chad Bianco, thank you so much for your time. With just days to go until the election, I know you're very busy and on the go, so we appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Welcome back to AI Assets.
There's a certain reality here, frankly, that's quite interesting because there's, I really can't disagree with virtually anything that he's said there, because essentially he's grasping a whole lot of information, and he is essentially right about a whole lot of information. Voters, it's crucially important for you to understand, Rob Bonta is not credible. Neither is Julie Sue. Neither is Shirley Weber. Neither is Gavin Newsom. Now, a majority of my resources were located in Riverside. Now, with my situation, I've been watching the evolution of what these people have been doing in California for a very long time. So I was a filed candidate for president, the only candidate to file to run for office as president in Arkansas. I come into the state, I was harassed. I had people falsely fabricate information and place it into computers, transmitted across state lines in violation of federal law. Arkansas investigated the matter and said, this is completely ridiculous what these people are doing. I was completely exonerated. In fact, they stated if I could get these participants, the officers in question, even Kamala Harris, into Arkansas, that they would prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. And they suggested that I proceed to file some paperwork of a certain nature and get it to the point where I could actually put out basically a warrant for their arrest and use bounty hunters to retrieve these people back into the state of Arkansas for them to be prosecuted, for them to be examined. And they were saying it's very clear. It says you have the right to do that. You need to go before a judge and state your situation. And there's a high chance that we're saying we'll support you. Here's our report, that the judge, more than likely, they're saying like it easily 90%, that the judges say, yeah, let's do this. Now, voters, I want to say here clearly that there is a situation that's crucially important, because it is crucially important for you to understand, because we don't have a free and fair election. I've stated there's information, there is a lot of evidence on my YouTube site. In fact, I have many YouTube sites, like about 9 of them, okay? And I talk about how they use algorithmic isolation, electronic kidnapping, and that they have trapped people in their devices into false narratives. This is election rigging. And when they're doing this on the negative end to other candidates like Chad is negatively affected. I would say that his numbers are easily, from what I examined, 50% off, that there is a discrimination ratio respective to his campaign and the way these algorithms are utilized. My campaign, I'm getting nuked. I've been getting nuked by these people. It goes all the way back to Jerry Brown. I'm an archiver. I'm an omnibus. Okay. I've done serious classified research. 9/11. I predicted the 4 to 7 plane scenario. Boeing knows this. The federal government knows this. I was on the phone with the Pentagon as the aircraft came in. I could hear these people scream, because I'm trying to talk to these people. The situation happens. I end up on a payphone and I tell them, look, I'm stuck here. I'm a traveling analyst and I'm an independent guy. And I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. This is what I think is going on. And they were like, this is kind of odd. I gave them my name. The next thing I know, one of the guys, they're typing. I can hear them typing in the background. And one of them says, whoa, 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 keep him. I found his letter. Look at this. So all of a sudden, this guy finds my letter on the issue. And they're like, wow, this is exactly what we're looking at right now. And then, things went, it's emotional for me. It's hard. It's never going to go away because their last moments were very professional to the very end. As they screamed, I could hear their voices change as the first person started to scream. And the rest began to realize that somebody was noticing something. And you could hear their voices change as their heads were turning towards the other person, towards looking out the window. As that aircraft came in, and the line goes dead. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't over for me yet, because I had another mission to do, because in the scenario, it included 2 Stinger missile teams, where the plan was to down the president's aircraft, to dox him wherever he went. And there were people that really didn't understand this intelligence scenario. It's a 555 Nostro. Some people wouldn't understand the slang on that. And bin Laden was trying to do a lot of psychological stuff. He was trying to have people proclaim him the great prophet. He had all this psychological stuff. He had a bunch of nuclear material, cake stuff for dirty bombs. He was going to use it all over the world. He was going to overthrow Saudi Arabia. He was going to attack and destroy Israel. This is what he was trying to do. He was trying to actually trigger a limited nuclear war. So I had to tell the Secret Service that if what we're watching right now means that these people breached, these people got in, you can't trust any information that you have. You must change to a brand new plan that's never been used before for the president's movements right now. So they did this. So it ends up on the news, and everybody can see he's at a location non-predictable. That told these enemies their plan of what they thought was going to happen just changed. Everything changed. All their plans, all their predictability, all their breaches, all their intelligence and tapping in, it just went out the window. And they knew it. In other words, for them, the jig was up. And at that moment, what happened actually is the media realizes, okay, president's going to go down into this bunker. Okay, show's over. Everybody go ahead and go away. There'll be ongoing reports later on. So the media goes away. The president immediately takes command and says, okay, that's it. The media's gone. The word went out. These people after me know that the jig's up. I'm taking command. Prepare my way. I'm flying back to Washington immediately. And at that moment, the power went right back into the president's hands. And that's exactly why you do analyst work, to be able to give people those fragments of information, to give them those options. So that having been said, so when I have these people in California attacking my archives, my campaign, my omnibus nonprofit, the developed evidence archives going in, the various types of mass modeling, computing, and all this technological research, these people are violating national security at a level that's mind-boggling. It's beyond the Rosenblums. Because my research is top of the line. It's very, very good. But I do my own thing. I'm independent though. I do my own thing. There was a lot of people that donated their life's work, ended up getting absorbed into the archive. And as it is with AI, data has skyrocketed in value. It has. I have billions and billions and billions of dollars in damage from what the state has done. And I have lots and lots of evidence. And I'm trying to put out more and more evidence so people can see what I'm talking about, have some kind of idea what's going on, because we don't have a free and fair election. We need 4 emergency elections, one every 90 days, to make sure that the voters can be freed from the false narratives that they've been trapped into and have a chance to answer questionnaires, whether they've been victims, how much the state owes them, what type of victim are they. We need that data. We desperately need that data so we can understand more about what these people have done so that we can quantify this information and come up with a plan to deal with it. I can't withdraw. It's not allowed for me to withdraw. Once I see parties committing treason, the law says I cannot withdraw. So I was both, this is multiple elections, people, multiple elections. I was both a presidential candidate and a gubernatorial candidate. Gavin Newsom is disqualified. He's connected to Articles violations. He's twice plucked. He's gone. And people need to stand up. They need to stand up and understand what's going on, because this might sound crazy to some of you, because I was in Arkansas. I started out doing my program, and now all of a sudden it's like I'm listening to different people. I'm seeing commitment. I'm seeing Chad's commitment. It's like I feel like we're almost like two guys virtually in the same boat. It's like this huge spiritual battle that's going on. And I'm the guy that has an incredible amount of evidence that hasn't been handled right. And because they're article violations, that means all the hirees, all the appointees are disqualified from the Newsom administration. And not just one, from both of them. And because the evidence ended up popping up Jerry Brown as well, his administration appointees and hirees are also facing removal. That's the way the federal articles violation works. I'm the guy that has the evidence to maybe remove over 10,000 people from California government. I'm not allowed to let go. I took the constitutional oath. I'm not allowed to let go, and I feel like people are trying to erase my existence. If you look on the sites, there's all this violence that's been focused, and the majority of my resources were in Riverside. Technically, a lot of it is actually in Chad's jurisdiction. So this is something where I'm telling you, voters, there's way more evidence of what's going on, and it hasn't been processed right. And I have statements from deputies and officers when burglaries occurred, different things happened, that they were not allowed to do fingerprints, that they were ordered by state policies into these certain corralled areas. And I'm telling you, it's wrong. The laws these people keep creating in Sacramento are wrong, and it's actionable. It's actionable. These laws are not legal. It's so ridiculous what they keep doing, and it's actionable. But people, you have to stand up. You have to join together with me, with anybody that is wanting to move forward to get the job of repairs done. So I just, I thought I'd lay that out, because I got upset. I was, listening to what he's saying, and I'm not going to say he's wrong. I can't, I can't say he's wrong. I can only add to it and say, I got a whole bunch of missing pieces that he don't have. And, even though I'm saying, I'm a candidate, I'm running, but I got an archive. The majority of the horrible evidence against these people in the state is the article violations against me, because they're all disqualified by the federal Constitution of the United States. And this is crucially important. And I want to repair California. That means, in my view, We have to have 4 emergency elections, one every 90 days. We have to ask you, the voters, questions and understand what's happening, because we're all forced into this trap where our devices, where we're entrapped, and we don't have the resources to do lots of long-reaching investigations. We're relying on instruments that are breached. This is the truth, voters. This is the truth. I can only bring my voice out at the moment and show you what evidence that I can try to get out there. And there's lots of it I put on the web. And I can say, yeah, I've been putting it on the web. The web crawlers have been grabbing it. It's probably in more than 3 million language models that people independently leach that information. It's never going to completely go away. But I'm in danger. I'm in danger too. I've had people shooting at me. I ended up hospitalized. Mysteriously I got poisoned. There was a lot of other people that got poisoned. They found these other people running labs around and going around to aggro and all this stuff. And we don't have all the pieces yet. Voters, I'm telling you, it's far larger than what you think. And there's foreign instruments involved. And we can't look away. We have to proceed forward. We have to grab hold and repair the situation. I want to thank you for your time very much, Michael Crosby.